Welcome everyone to the Nerd Nook. I'm your host, Evan Teagle. With my colleagues is the man who was not canceled off HBO Max, Noah Bailey. So, I don't even know exactly which part of this break of this first story is the biggest deal, but I think we're just gonna kind of start from the beginning of where this first started. Last week, it was officially announced that the Batgirl movie that everyone kind of forgot was happening, but looked like it could have been good, was officially just straight up shelved and was not releasing in theaters or on HBO at all. So, yeah. First, before we move into everything else that follows, what were your initial reactions when you heard that happened?
Like you said, I kind of forgot that was happening. So it was kind of one of those things where it was like, oh, but because again, it's one of those things where Batgirl as a character isn't bad, but it kind of feels kind of out of nowhere where you're kind of just, oh, we're doing a Batgirl movie and we kind of have Batman, but kind of don't.
I think the absolute weirdest part about this Batgirl movie is that it's the pitch for this movie was that Michael Keaton was going to be the Batman in this movie. J.K. Simmons was going to be the Commissioner Gordon.
Right.
And then but that's all. the fact that sorry, the Flash movie kept getting delayed, which is when Michael Keaton was going to be introduced as this universe's new Batman or whatever, and then this movie would, I guess, technically take place in that timeline, but that movie kept getting delayed, so I was just on the assumption that this movie would come out before that and just be just this weird little thing.
Yeah, just kind of be on its own, but I don't know.
Especially, I it's one of those movies that until it got canceled, I never had any doubts that it wasn't gonna come out. I just did think it was a little fishy that they never no even teasers really, no, there's not that many set photos were leaked,
Nothing.
no poster, nothing. Just one shot, I believe only one shot, an official release of the Batgirl suit, and that was about it. No, even soft release date. I don't even think they ever put a year on this thing.
I don't think so. It was just kind of in development eventually, probably.
Yeah. Until they officially decided that this movie apparently wasn't big enough for what they have in store going forward with DC projects. Which is an interesting way to frame this. Apparently they claim they only canceled it because it was going to be simul-streamed on both HBO Max and in theaters, and they only want to focus on big theatrical event films for DC stuff going forward. But does that but what about stuff like Peacemaker and other shows that are in the works? Are those feel like they could have their own little space on the streaming service? But I don't know. That was, yeah. And then it was
also happened.
Yeah, it was announced kind of, or it was kind of revealed shortly after that this Batgirl was essentially already finished. It finished filming a couple of weeks ago. It was already in post-production. $90 million was already put into this movie, which, granted, for a live-action superhero movie, that's not that much in this day and age.
But yeah, $90 million. It's $90 million still.
Yeah, I could easily see this movie being not super heavy on CG and like
Mhm.
and whatnot. So it being a little more grounded and only 90 million, sure, whatever. But apparently, the new heads of DC, after now that the Warner Brothers and Discovery merger has officially happened, um, they decided they would rather shelve this movie and break even after a tax write-off than release this movie that could potentially be kind of good.
I mean, I I like okay. My thing is like I'm never like anti DC content most of the time, but it's
Mm-hmm.
like again, it's one of those things where this kind of feels like it's gonna kind of be out of nowhere without any kind of supporting movies with it, which isn't necessarily bad, but I feel like it's just kind of gonna exist.
Right. And I think I've said this before, but I'll like especially nail it down here. I personally feel like going forward, it might be in DC's best interest to just kind of make, at least starting out right now, just kind of making one-off superhero movies. Like obviously the Batman was a big hit. Do more of that. You can even do more stuff in that. Just make like the Batman universe stuff. You can have this Batgirl movie just kind of existing as its own thing. You have Aquaman and Shazam both just like existing kind of parallel to each other. They can cross over if they wanted to, but they're not necessarily like in the same
It's not like
universe.
super connected, yeah.
Yeah, especially since Shazam 1 already like had that kind of funny scene where like he was in that gift, he was in that that like toy store with Justice League action figures and stuff, where they looked more like their comic counterparts. So I don't even know if that's necessarily really in the DCU as we know it. So
I have
like
no
just
idea.
like I wouldn't mind them just like kind of making stuff. You can put them together if it works, but just like make these random movies and then don't worry about continuity. I think that might be what they should do going forward.
Mhm. Just
But
make them and then see what happens.
yeah,
Hmm.
and I've also kind of felt like making smaller stuff for HBO Max should be could have been a strength for them, but clearly they're not interested in doing that. So
Because no one watches streaming, right?
right, kind of going off of that. Um, uh, so this all happened a couple of days before this big, like fiscal year investor meeting that Warner Bros. Discovery um, had, and in that they officially announced what I personally have always seen as kind of the worst case scenario. Not the worst case, but like the worst case would be HBO just being a part of Discovery, which I think would have been a big mess. But they are essentially, from what I understand, they're essentially going to be sunsetting both HBO Max and Discovery Plus and making a new streaming service that has all that content together.
Yeah.
Which I don't. Just from a branding perspective, I feel like HBO has is a big name. Like that brand has been around since like the '60s. Like it's old.
Agreed. And I feel like as a platform, I feel like HBO Max is the top three like streaming in my opinion. So it's like
hmm
just just keep it and just add on to it. I mean, maybe call it HBO Max Plus or something. I don't know, but like
Or
just like
or just add a Discovery tab to HBO Max.
exactly. That's what I mean. Like why are you rebrand? Like just
Yeah.
keep it the same. Just reinforce what you already have.
Literally, in a recent poll, like these polls aren't always the most reliable, but they at least give you a general idea of what the people making this, who took this poll, think. Um, HBO Max, as far as like customer satisfaction of the platform, I believe HBO had a 94% customer
Ooh.
satisfaction, with Disney Plus being a second with like an 84%. It was like a pretty decent Like still both very good, but
Yeah.
HBO had the highest customer satisfaction of all the major streaming services.
And I will say, in the last couple of weeks and months, I've used HBO Max far more than any other streaming service lately. So,
Yeah, like there's just a ton of good stuff on there. Like not
there is.
necessarily all of it appeals to me, but having all those Turner Classic Movies, like that's just a huge wellspring of just just like just
Content.
content. All the stuff from Cartoon Network,
Mhm.
DC stuff, just general
Obviously.
like Looney Tunes and other just
Yeah.
Warner
And
Brothers
then just
backlog
like
stuff.
other just great movie. I mean, like Goodfellas, one of my favorite
Hmm.
movies, is on there. You know what I mean? There's a
Yeah.
lot of movies on there. It's just like there's good movies, there's good shows. It's like I think that classic show, like Fresh Prince of Bel Air is on there. You know what
Hmm.
I mean? There's a lot of quality
Yeah.
content on
Friends and
HBO
other
Max. You
just
just
stuff. Yeah.
yeah, like they just generally have a lot of good stuff.
Hmm.
So it's like just add on to it. Don't rebrand. There's
Yeah.
no need.
It does kind of suck that that Warner Brothers lawyers don't seem to be as good as Disney because stuff kind of cycles in and out of HBO from HBO pretty frequently. I think the Michael Keaton Batman movies aren't even on there right now. I think they're on Hulu or something like they're somewhere else, and they're
What?
losing Harry Potter at the end of this month. It's like that was
To
added.
who?
I don't know.
Like who was taking Harry Potter
Those were
back? Like
added in like January of this year. They're just like
they
no.
just got him, and now yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I remember it was a big deal. They just got him, and then it was like now we just lost. Like
Those are movies that they made. Like they made these movies.
yeah, how
What are
do
they
you
going
not
to
have the rights to
Peacock?
your
Like
own
why did they get those?
Bro? Peacock is out here just taking people's stuff that no one asked for. Oh, we have this Peacock. We don't care. Give it back.
Yeah. You can watch Office bloopers on Peacock. I don't care. I like The Office, but not enough to watch the entire
No,
service for it.
put
Come
The
on.
Office back on Netflix where it belongs, and then just oh my gosh, like
Hmm.
that was half the reason people had Netflix was to watch just The Office reruns, and
Yep.
it's like Peacock's like, yay! Now people are gonna watch us, right? And everyone's like, no,
No.
we're just gonna not watch The Office for a while.
And like it's just so funny that on top of Netflix losing some of its best shows and movies because all the other publishers are getting their own services, Netflix is also just doing everything in their power to make people dislike them right now by
They
canceling
are
very popular
everything.
shows, raising their prices, just doing all these scummy things that
Not the like we're cracking down on sharing your accounts. I'm like, oh, that's gonna make people happy. Like,
you can't screen share, so like free word of mouth marketing from just like posting screenshots of funny stuff that happens, like that's not a thing anymore. Like why are you doing this?
I see. I feel like I feel like they're like how like you're kind of heading towards the edge. I feel like they're like speeding up.
Hmm.
Just like, you could prolong this, but they're like, no, we're gonna jump.
And like
Like,
the funniest thing is they keep making these $200 million movies like The Gray Man and Red Notice and Six Underground, which no one, not that, but like I can't even say no one watches them because apparently like they get insane streaming hour numbers, but
for
then
like a day.
for yeah, like the weekend they come out and then no one
Well, no,
thinks about
it's
them after.
and that's the thing. It's kind of like and the thing that I've always kind of said about Netflix, where it's like I appreciate it because as a consumer, but as someone who would be like if I was producing, it makes no sense. The whole like show comes out, we put the whole show on one at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, I just don't because you're just throw people watch your show in a weekend and then that's it. Like
Yep.
they don't talk about it. They don't have time to like discuss with other people and get the hype up. And someone else like, ooh, I can go. They're only 3 episodes in. I have time to catch up. Versus like, oh hey, we all saw it this weekend. Okay, now we're done talking
Yep.
about it. Show's over. You know what I mean? It's kind
Uh-huh.
of like, yeah, because it's like I feel like, and again, I'm not trying to diss that because I know that that's as a consumer, like as someone watching, I appreciate when the whole show's there because I don't have to wait week by week. Because even like right now, I'm like, oh, dang, I have to wait for a new Harley Quinn episode, but it's okay.
That being said, I feel like HBO has the best of both worlds. I think they're kind of doing it the best, where they release the premiere is 3 episodes and then one a week after that. That way you get like a good idea of what the show is, whether or not you're gonna like it. Generally, if you're not liking a show by 3 episodes, it's probably not for you.
Probably not you.
But but also, there's you get a very sizable chunk of good show to watch, assuming it is good, that you can watch and talk about with other people, and then follow throughout. Whereas I feel like Disney Plus has the second best, where they do just release them week by week, which we'll get. They're doing a little bit of restructuring in the right direction as well with that, which we'll get to later. But yeah, Netflix just dumping all of Stranger Things. Sure, they're like memes and stuff kind of come out from that a little bit, but like people aren't really talking about it now. When if they had released it every day, it would still be it would still be in the mind share of people, but it's just kind of there.
But I mean, I think it's one of those things where it's like the double-edged sword, because it's like now if you do it after years of not doing it, people are going to be like, "Oh, Netflix, you stink! How dare you!" So it's like they might have dug their own grave, because it was a cool thing when they first started, when there wasn't a lot of competition. But now everyone else is able to adjust to it, so now it makes you look bad, because if you do it, then people get upset. But if you don't do it, then people get over your shows in like a week. So it's like you're kind of in a rock and a hard place.
It's so funny that Netflix is even like doubling down on this concept. They said recently in an investor meeting that they believe that their like binge culture will help them win audiences in the long term. They believe it is their like long term is a long term strategy for them to have them all there. When like stuff like Better Call Saul, like every single week. I haven't watched a single episode of that show, but like I know, like my entire Twitter feed is full of people gushing over how good the show is every single day an episode comes out, and like that's just on television. It's like normal TV.
Let's not forget like regular TV still exists.
Yeah. I don't know what channel it is, but it's somewhere out there. Like
probably, if I had to guess, it's probably FX. But I mean,
AMC. One of those.
AMC is probably not. AMC definitely no.
But like enough people are watching, let's say AMC, and gushing over this good show that comes out every single week. That just gives more people more time to acknowledge that the show exists and then think, "Hey, I'm going to go try that." Whereas Stranger Things, it comes out on a Friday. Everyone binges it over the weekend. They talk about it amongst themselves for maybe 3 or 4 days, and then like anybody who hasn't seen it, they'll go, "Hey, have you seen Stranger Things? No, you should watch it." Okay, I might,
and then that's it.
And then I never do. Like I will eventually, but like since there's. If anything, I feel like there being so much show already there, just like, because each episode's like an hour long. I can't binge.
That's a big investment.
8 episodes an hour? Like I can't do that.
I mean, you could. You just don't want to.
Like that's honestly like a little kind of intimidating to me. But like I'll get to it eventually. But I can't do it right now. I'd rather watch like an hour every Wednesday and then talk about it from there. But whatever. So regardless, I if anything, I just want to like emphasize the strength that I feel HBO Max has, and I think Warner Bros. Discovery is not making the best decision, dismantling that goodwill that HBO does have and just merging it to make this new thing with Discovery, when you could have just brought Discovery over to HBO and that would have been fine, I think. But
100%. Yeah. Because
And
again,
yeah,
HBO is the brand name here, and Discovery's kind of like the add-on. So it's like just add it to it. Like,
and there was there were several just very very funny uh, slides. Like they had this whole like slideshow presentation about their plans with HBO Max and Discovery Plus going forward. And one of their many reasons why they are trying to merge them is they believe that HBO Max has a more male centered uh, focus, while Discovery has a more female centered focus. When like yes, Discovery is mostly moms, but
good, good. That is good.
but HBO I feel is like the, everyone watches HBO. Like it's there's stuff for everybody on there. Like
Yeah, no, that's kind of my thing. It's like now that you say it, the Discovery thing is definitely more like moms and such. Because yeah, it's like even at my job, I'll see people they just got like in the background or something, and I'm just like, oh wow. But
mm-hmm.
like, but yeah, I feel like HBO Max is like an everybody thing. So it's like,
I feel like it's not even one of those things where like I feel like women are excluded from HBO because there are, you know, being very stereotypical here, but there are like reality TV shows and there are other things on HBO that like people would consider more women focused.
mhm.
If you just attach Discovery Plus to HBO, you can advertise that even more at women, I guess, is like, you know, on
Yeah,
top of all this other stuff, we have the stuff just for
yeah,
you. It's scummy,
and then
but
it's
like that's
like
what they could do.
right, and it's like you have everything. Like you just have everything. It's like okay, like people are gonna find their shows.
Yes.
So it's like if you just add it on, like people are gonna find it. Because I mean, what do you do when you think of a show you want to watch? Like, oh, let me Google it, where to watch. Boom, HBO Max.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool, let's go. I already had that, great. And then
Yep.
boom, there you go. It's like it doesn't have to be this whole big deal. It's like just absorb it.
Yeah, and it is very possible that the show that they end up, or the streaming service they end up creating will essentially be the best of both worlds, just under a different name, where they essentially have the same, preferably they have the player the HBO Max does, which the HBO Max player is actually like pretty good now. You can finally go to new episodes from the actual player, which Disney Plus hasn't even figured out yet. But whatever.
God, that is like the most annoying thing ever. It's like it's so everyone does this. Like
Whatever.
it's fine.
It's 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 not the easiest platform to rewind stuff on, but it's at least
It's
it's
possible.
possible. um, so yeah, just like essentially take everything that's good about HBO, their release structure, the huge wealth backlog of just backlog catalog of stuff they have. Um, Perfectly nail down the streaming rights to the things that you own, like DC, Harry Potter, and Lord of the Rings, and stuff like that. Just keep it there. On top of the you know Food Network and Animal Planet and other stuff that is
Just random stuff.
whatever. Yeah, um, but, but yeah, I'm also gonna be a little miffed if they don't do a thing, which they didn't do with DC Universe, so I don't see why they would now. But I would hope they do a thing where if you have HBO Max, you can just like upgrade. It's very easily to see like, oh, at
Mm-hmm.
least you get at least like a couple months free or something or whatever.
That that's probably why they're making it so you can't do that. They're just gonna like, oh, HBO Max doesn't exist anymore. We have whatever, and you have to get that now. And it's just like
But
that. It just
but then I'll have to like restart over like if because one thing I like about streaming services is it's a little creepy, but at least like if you watch one Batman thing, it's like stuff for you, and it's all the other Batman stuff, and it's all
yeah.
right there for you. I'll have to. I
Yeah,
don't.
and it keeps track of how far you in on certain shows because some shows you forget, and you're like, how many episodes in am I? All
Mm-hmm.
right, no, that happened already, and what you've already finished and stuff like that. So like, yeah, I just kind of
Yes.
I don't
I
know.
don't know if HBO has this, but Netflix's Watch Again tab is very good. Like I think that should be everywhere, because sometimes I don't remember if I've already seen a show or movie or not, or if I want to watch it again, it'll just be right there.
All right.
But yeah, this new streaming service is coming September next year, and we'll see what form it takes. So yeah, is it petty of me to like kind of secretly hope that after the streaming services combine, Zack Snyder's Justice League is just like gone?
I mean, no. Like, it could be one of those things where it's like, oh, we must have lost it in the move. Oops. And I would not even be mad. I'd be like, great. Like, but
it's not the worst thing ever, but like it would just be very funny for these people.
It's more of what it represents to me, if anything. Like, it's not great by any means. It's kind of bad, but it more of what it represents, where it's just like, movie executives know what they're doing, and like clearly they don't, but it's fine. But
yeah, but kind of speaking on that, in this investor meeting, the new head of Warner Bros. Discovery, David Zaslav, I think I'm saying that right. I don't know or care. Who I think was the head of Discovery, who's now the head of everything. He apparently says that they're creating a team that is specifically created to formulate a 10-year plan for DC stuff. So maybe they'll get it right this time. Who knows?
I mean, hopefully. Granted, I know everyone's like, oh, they're just copying Marvel, but it's like,
if it works, we'll do it.
Yeah, but like they did it right. You know what I mean? It's like, well, yeah, they did it right. So of course you want to at least somewhat emulate that. So like, my thing, because like this is what I've always talked about. It's like they just kind of need to start over, and I feel like this is kind of a step potentially in the right direction with like. And I mean, yeah, I know Henry Cavill looks really good as Superman. I know some people really love Ben Affleck's Batman. I know whatever, but it's like, I don't think as is it's going to work. It's just, there's too much, it's too convoluted. There's nothing that really makes sense. And it kind of just Zack Snyder doing what Zack Snyder wanted to do for the most part. But I feel like if you actually just come back to the beginning, restart it, do the characters like the source material for the most part, with a few additions, changes, and specifications here and there, I think you can really do this right. Because again, I argue DC characters are still better than Marvel characters. I still think that.
Yeah, I agree.
And I feel like, you know what I mean? And I feel like if we can make, the Guardians of the Galaxy a household name, they're like, DC's can be amazing if done correctly.
We could easily make Green Lantern a household name. Come on.
Oh, 1,000%. No, easily. All you have to, you could do that easily.
Yeah.
Like it. But it's just my thing is, who are they going to put in charge? Because I feel like there's two ways that movies get made these days. There's what I consider probably the wrong way, where you kind of just say, hey, even though we have this property with years of lore and all this, let's just put big shot director person and say, here, go. And then they kind of just throw whatever they feel like. And then you get, the sequel trilogy, the Snyder, it's like things that are not versus vice versa. When you put people who actually know what they're doing or passionate about what they're doing, you get the opposite, and things that people much more enjoy with the same quantities and characters and whatnot. So it's like, it's not that people didn't like the material, it's that people didn't like the directions that were chosen by people who didn't know the material. So it's kind of like, if you trust people who know what they're talking about in terms of these properties in charge, I think you will be pleasantly surprised with what the results you can get. And I know I'm just saying what everyone's thinking, but I mean,
I think the number one biggest issue with DC's plan back, when they were making Man of Steel and stuff going forward, is the number one biggest issue was Zack Snyder had a plan for his, vision for what he believed the DC universe should be. And I personally believe like the person making the grand plan should not be the main directors of the movie. Should be some other entity who's like, produces and like gets hands on with each movie, but he's not directly making every movie. He's not making every single decision that then other movies have to agree on. Like Kevin Feige is like, okay, every studio, every person making these movies, like, we'll get together, cast X, Y, and Z, make this world building. Because generally the world building of Marvel is generally pretty good. Because it's the people on the upper levels together deciding this, and then the other people like agreeing on that and going from there. Whereas you have Zack Snyder who just decides randomly Batman's in his 40s, Dick Grayson's dead, Superman's not Superman, Wonder Woman's just been around for a while but hasn't done anything, Aquaman, Flash, and these other people are just kind of been around, but like we haven't heard about them. And I also casted these people in this movie despite I feel most of them aren't really like, weren't like ideally cast for these people. I just feel like you gave him just a bit too much power when when like he had this grand plan for his own thing that other studios were kind of forced to build off of, when especially with the whole idea of like Superman dying in the second movie. Like what do you do with that?
Nothing. You didn't have time to like him yet.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think it easily could have worked to have Zack Snyder's input in that, in there, have him, be a part of that team and he can still direct movies, but not be the sole person making these decisions and executive producing these other movies as well. And then I have to like, they're pigeonholed to his specific like ideas. It was a little clunky, just a little clunky.
Yeah, and I think that's interesting. You believe kind of in this separation of power in terms of like overarching, and then by like the mini level. It's kind of like with business, not you don't have the CEO going to micromanaging every single person. You have people who their job is to like, okay, just do this in some capacity, and then they figure it out, kind of thing.
Yes, I feel it's also a strength because, like, for example, not every single Marvel movie is a winner, but like if certain ones aren't the best, if certain ones don't do as well as they thought they were, or whatever, Kevin Feige and the people up there can reassess, either give that director a second try or completely go in a different direction. Whereas it is not even like going to be really on that director like going forward. Whereas with Man of Steel and BVS, since both those movies I personally feel were not that great, it is solely on Zack Snyder, and then we're just expected to like his movies going forward. There was no oversight on him making those big movies. I feel like that was just a little short-sighted of them to just like give it all to him, give it all to one person. These other, basically the Wonder Woman movie is basically a spin-off of BVS. Aquaman ends up being basically a spin-off of Justice League, when I feel like it didn't really feel like one big cohesive universe, especially if you consider Zack's grand overarching plan of setting Justice League 2 like in the distant future and everything. It was a lot. It was a lot that I don't think any of it worked.
No. But
yeah. But maybe this new team that they've concocted can figure it out. Maybe. I don't know. I still think they should hire. They should hire us. I mean, I don't know. I mean, we've made some pretty good videos.
I mean, my thing is, I don't know. It's like my thing is like, I know there are nerds out there that could create some of the best darn movie universes
Mm-hmm.
to exist. And it's like the fact that there's this, you know what I mean? It's like I know there are people out there that can do this, and it's like I feel like if they're not utilizing that, it's just kind of like, come on, really? You're just gonna put these like people who know nothing about these DC characters, but they're just gonna be like, oh, okay, like it's one thing to do actors that don't really know about it
Mm-hmm.
because like how many actors are gonna be huge nerds, but it's
Right.
like I feel like you can find story people because this is a
Yes.
whole thing,
And I
but.
think you kind of touched on another thing that is a strength of the way Marvel does it, and a weakness of, like you said earlier, both DC and to an extent Star Wars have had done it. It came out recently that apparently Taika Waititi hadn't really read many Thor comics before making the Thor movies he made, which should be a problem. And like, I'm not saying it wasn't noticeable, but like, you could have done more with, especially Thor: Love and Thunder, with Gore being the main villain, just based off the source material. But because Kevin Feige, is the overarching, mastermind of everything, he was able to like, kind of, give him ideas and like tell him, hey, put Hercules in the movie. He's like, Hercules? I didn't know that was a Marvel character. Like, you have these people above him who can kind of like keep him in check and give him ideas that can make your universe go forward and just kind of help. Whereas with Star Wars, for example, J.J. Abrams really likes the movie The Star Wars. And he wanted to make The Star Wars. And dang it, he made The Star Wars.
Yes,
And
he
then
did.
when he came back for the third movie, he's like, well, I already made The Star Wars. Why as well make the third Star Wars movie? So he just made the third Star Wars movie again. It's like, and there was, like, Kathleen Kennedy is not, like, in that same position that Kevin Feige is over at Marvel. So she wasn't able to, like, directly be like, hey, don't do this. Someone should have stopped that man from just making Star Wars again. but but yeah, like, it's, if I guarantee if Kevin Feige was directing how the DC universe was being made back in 2016, he would have looked Zack Snyder in the face and be like, dude, why even if it's not said in the movie, Dick Grayson is not dying yet. Well, no, that's not happening.
Makes no sense. A, that's not accurate. B, why would you kill him before we even see him?
Mm-hmm.
C,
He's a
no.
beloved character. You don't want to kill off Dick Grayson. What's wrong with you?
He's a great character. Like, that's so many other avenues that you're destroying. But,
Yeah.
I don't know. He had his vision, and hopefully, we've seen the last of it. At least I hope so.
But at the same time, like, I would be a bit of a hypocrite if I didn't say, just like, make that movie. If you want, if I'm gonna be consistent and say DC should just make stuff, like, why not, like, allow, just so the fanboys can shut up, just like allow him to finish his vision, just like be done with it. It might, cost you $400 billion to make it, but like, just,
no. No, for the fact that we got a Snyder cut at all is like ridiculous. So it's like, no, we're not doing more. We're done. I don't know. I think it should be done. It's like, come on.
I mean,
really?
I agree, but I don't know. A part of me is just like, I want them to shut up about it. A part of me is like,
but they're never going to.
You're right.
It's gonna be like, because it was release this, release that. Oh, now we're at this. Restore the Snyder. Like, you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. Like, you just gotta be like, okay, put down.
Yeah. I I also, the way David Z has been talking about certain things, like with Batgirl being, not financially viable to release at all when it was basically done, and canceling these other projects that were going to be on HBO. Like, not, it wasn't this sweeping cancellation like people were afraid of, but there were some things that were taken off or canceled because they weren't, in his words, financially viable. I am a little worried about stuff like, like the Batman only making 750 million at the box office. Like, that is a lot of money, but is it a lot of money to him? Is something that's critically acclaimed like the Suicide Squad? Is he able to take audience reception to characters and stuff, cult following and that type of thing? Is he able to kind of put that into the equation like these other studio heads can do? I just don't know at this point.
I think it's too early to tell, but I don't know. We'll find out. It's just, I don't know.
Yeah. We do know that apparently in Aquaman 2, Ben Affleck is going to be in the movie as Batman. Okay. So probably just like a cameo in the after credit scene or something just to have. But that's something. It's not. I'm not gonna be. There's gonna be a pretty significant number of people who were going to watch Aquaman 2 solely so they can see Ben Affleck again as Batman, when like he's only gonna be in 2 seconds of that movie.
Yeah. Probably like right at the beginning or right at the end.
Yep. Like, there's not gonna be a scene where it's like, I don't know what to do. I know, and then he's gonna like go to Gotham and like get Batman back on, will just like be his sidekick for the next half of the movie. That's not gonna happen. But he's gonna be in it, so that's a thing. I thought he was done, but I guess not. Whatever. So yeah. It'll be, like I said, it'll be like almost a year before this new service comes. Probably before we get, we might get some fruits of the 10-year plan at the DC Fandom this year, but we'll see if this is the right decision. Right now, it's kind of hard to see, but it could be really good for all parties, or it could be a dumpster fire. But
yeah, I mean, but that's anytime you're like basically rebooting a universe. It's like, there's literally an infinite number of, spectrum. This could be good or terrible or the worst thing ever, pretty good, all right, who knows?
Right. Okay, well, moving over to Disney stuff. It's going to be a long one, buckle up. Over to Disney stuff. I kind of hinted at this earlier, but it's been confirmed that She-Hulk has been delayed by 1 day to now release on August 18th, which is a Thursday, and the episodes will be on Thursdays going forward.
Good enough.
Yep. I don't even think there's any like other major show coinciding with it, but if they were just like Marvel Thursday, good.
Yeah.
Good.
This is what we've been talking about. And this is what we were like, why are they doing double Wednesdays? This is so dumb. You're shooting your own shows in the foot, because Miss Marvel's first like 3 episodes nobody watched because everyone's watching Kenobi.
Ironically, those are the best 3 episodes, but
I know. That's kind of the worst part of it. Yeah. It's like, oh man, because I remember I didn't watch any Miss Marvel until it was basically over, and I was just like, oh, well, I've been so busy with Kenobi, I didn't even like think about this. But yeah, okay, this is good. Now you can have multiple things at multiple times, as you should have,
right,
from the beginning. But whatever.
And originally, I think either the last or the second to last episode of She-Hulk was going to coincide with the release of Andor. But they've actually delayed Andor to September 21st with a 3-episode premiere. With that show being 12 episodes, I think that makes sense. So even though they are moving, hopefully, Marvel shows to Thursdays, they're still going to try to space stuff out as much as possible, which I think makes sense.
Yeah, just to give it a little air to breathe. But because She-Hulk's 18 episodes, I believe?
Is it? I thought it was only 8.
Is it? Or am I thinking of something else?
Andor
Am
is
I...
sorry. Daredevil is 18.
Okay, that's what it is. Daredevil. Sorry.
Daredevil will be in She-Hulk before
Right.
that.
Yeah. No. That's why I got mixed
Yep.
up. Okay.
Yep. And from the screenshots we've seen of his yellow suit, it looks really good.
Yeah.
And how is it possible that this Andor is looking like the best Star Wars thing ever made? Like, how is this possible?
It does look very fire.
Like, they showed space battles, they showed clone troopers, it's so good.
I'm not gonna lie. I remember thinking about this, like when all these things got announced and this and and then it was like, oh man, Obi-Wan and Ahsoka, Andor. I was like, what?
That's getting canceled. It's like, no.
Yeah, I was just like, well, that's never coming out. And now it's like,
it looks better than Obi-Wan.
Look, I mean, if not for it literally being Obi-Wan, the trailers look way better for Andor.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, now granted, we still have to see it when it comes out, but so far, I went from this is definitely something I'm gonna forget exists and never watch to I'm looking forward to that first episode.
It definitely passes the vibe checks. Like
Indeed,
there have been some things where like even the vibes just seem off of it. Like even like for example, Eternals. I never had great vibes from that. It always looked a little bloated. Always looked a little like it wasn't sure what it was doing. And turns out not really. It was meh. But like Andor, like like you said. I forgot this character even had a name in Rogue One.
Yes.
And now it's possible these 12 episodes could be the best 12 episodes of anything Star Wars ever. Like, it's just...
We'll see. Now, we'll see. But, yeah, again, the bar, they kind of... They've shown up, basically, that this far. Now, granted, we haven't seen anything. I still... Because I don't want to get too excited, and then that first episode or two drops, and I'm like, oh, well... It has in the first half, you know what I mean? But from what we have seen, which is not much, but is enough, it does look really entertaining. So
yeah. So yeah, that's coming September 21st. I can wait a little bit longer. That's fine. So next we have just a couple of rumors that got accidentally revealed. Apparently, some TikTok blogger person was randomly visiting Cairo, and they saw Oscar Isaac and the director of Moon Knight filming something in Cairo. And the TikToker like walked up to Oscar Isaac and was like, "Hey, are you filming Moon Knight season 2?" And Oscar Isaac was like, "Why else why else are we here?" Like.
I mean, I don't know if he would say that. One, because I feel like he's not allowed to say that.
Mm-hmm.
And two, because
unless she was a plant.
That's kind of what I'm saying. Like, that seems very like too good to be true to be genuine. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Because I know they did say that more stuff is going to be revealed at D23 this year. They'll have a whole Marvel panel there. So this will probably just get announced at that, but it is very funny. If she's not a plant and Oscar Isaac is just like casually like, yeah, Moon Knight season 2 is happening. It's like...
He's so tired of keeping secrets from Star Wars. He's just like, you know what? I'm not doing this anymore. Someone asked me, I'm going to give them a straight answer.
I don't care if Kevin Feige has several snipers trained to me in every second. I'm just going to say it.
It's like he's about to like using spoilers and his water starts smoking. It's like, what?
And apparently Kevin Feige needs to up his security because Patton Oswalt was in some interview recently. He just casually revealed, "Oh yeah, we're filming Eternals 2 next week." It's like, what?
It's like the Far From Home, like Nick Fury losing his touch. He's like, he ghosted me. It's like, bro, you gotta get on it, man. Like, these new cats aren't respecting you.
Like, I get, Patton Oswalt is one of the biggest geeks out there. So like him just being super excited to, be in Marvel stuff is, I'm sure, can't contain it. I get it, but it's like, I mean, that's again another thing that's probably going to be revealed, later next month. But it's very funny that these two things that I had no doubts of them happening anyway. Like Eternals, it was a decent enough movie that I think with a sequel it could be really good.
Yeah, and how it ended, it was like we definitely need more. So
Yeah, that's not getting resolved in Guardians 4 or whatever. Like that has to be a Eternals thing. Um, so yeah, that's at least two things that are probably going to be announced later this year. So that's cool.
more than likely, yeah.
Yeah. One last Disney bit that I personally am very excited about. I know I did a whole thing on like a whole rant about this movie probably over a year ago at this point. But have you ever seen the movie or read any of the Eragon books?
Mm-mm.
Okay, that's fine. They're pretty good, but in the very similar vein to the Percy Jackson movie, which also were not very good. And the book series is getting a Disney Plus show with Rick Riordan, the creator, coming to produce it.
Okay.
The creator of Eragon is coming to produce a show for Disney Plus.
Okay, good. So you're getting the OG. At least you're getting the original people behind it. Then I'm for it.
Yes. So no date or anything was said for that, but Eragon is coming. Which
at some point, probably
anything to just like say that movie didn't exist and just like it's like that's fine. Because that is legitimately one of the worst movies I've ever seen. Like even just like structurally speaking, it makes no sense. Like even if I weren't a huge fan of the book, I would hate that movie. But so yeah, that's exciting. In other nerd news, the Knights of the Old Republic remake that was announced last year? Yeah, it's been delayed indefinitely.
Oh no.
Yeah. Apparently, there's a bit of a weird. It's not. I'm not like exactly clear about what happened, but I do know there's been some restructuring at the companies who are making this game. Like I think Aspire, the company that has been doing a lot of the back up just a little bit. Aspire, the company making this game, they are mostly a porting studio. They port Star Wars games to consoles and like PC and stuff, like from the like for example, like actually Knights of the Old Republic games recently got ported to consoles. Those are done by Aspire, Republic Commando, the old Jedi games. Those got ported, like and upres, etc. Like they're not really ones for making games. They have dabble, but they're mostly a porting studio. And they were just given this huge remake of a very beloved game, and apparently they like showed like concept art and just like a rough demo to the people funding this. And apparently there were no notes. There were no like, they didn't even like get feedback or anything. The I believe it was the head artist and the head director were straight up fired.
Dang.
So, which implies the gameplay was bad and it looked bad.
Yeah, I was about to say, just nothing about this was good. Just everything was trash, apparently.
Mm-hmm. So it's been at least rumored that the game is just being taken away from them and given to another subsidiary of whatever company owes them. So it might come out at some point, but it's definitely not on track right now to come out anytime soon. So yeah.
I mean, okay. Like that does suck.
Yes.
But if it was that bad, that's probably for the best.
Mm-hmm. Like a lot of studios these days just release stuff. Like they don't
Mm-hmm.
care about quality control. They don't care about what players will think. They just want to release it just to get it out there. Um, yeah, I'd rather them completely restructure this early than force the developers to crunch. They have like 60 to 90 hour weeks just to get a game out
Right.
buggy on release day. Like it's not worth it.
Right. No, it's like don't rush it if you're not ready. Like honestly, especially with something important, like it'll be okay. Like we'll wait.
Yeah, you don't even have a PS5 yet, so
Right?
maybe you'll have one by then.
No one. I'm like, yeah, only 10 people have a PS5, so it's no big deal.
Yeah.
Like,
Um, I think last little bit of news that I have, it's been confirmed that a Pac-Man live action movie made by,
yes.
made by the same people that
No.
made the
Wait.
Sonic movies is coming.
No. Okay. Okay. No. 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 What? No, I'm sorry. I don't think there's any way you can sell me on this idea.
I
Like,
heard a very good idea on Twitter. The idea is make it a survival horror thriller movie from the ghost's perspective, and they're like all of them are working together to run/kill Pac-Man. Like he's the Jason character, like
oh my
chasing after them
god.
throughout the movie, and like
But like, how is that live action
I
though? Like, how
don't
do
know.
you like? That's what I'm saying. It's like that's not a bad concept, but it's like, what are you gonna have someone running on like in like a giant maze? Like, I
the,
don't even know what this is gonna be. Like, I don't.
they're at, oh I this could go one of two ways. Either they play it, well, really three. Either they play it completely straight and just like have CG characters the entire time, and like just do Pac-Man. I guess like there's Pac-Man has like action adventure games and platformers and other stuff. There is a
Yeah.
story they could go with. They do something completely out there, something more like I said earlier, where it's like either let's see, from the ghost perspective or just like something that where someone named Pac-Man is the main character and just kind of like doing some weird
Oh.
story, or they make it like a weird comedy where it's like part of it is its own thing and then randomly like 2/3 the way through the movie he's like chasing somebody through a maze. Just like or something like
Oh,
that.
you mean like Battleship, where it has nothing to do with it, and at the last minute they just like, wait a minute, they're playing Pac, and then everyone throws their popcorn.
Yep.
God, still the worst thing ever. Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't understand this like everything in live action fascination. Things that were very clearly did not need at any point to have live action counterparts.
Hmm.
People are like, let's do it anyway. And it's like, no,
I
don't
mean,
do that. That's a terrible choice. But
Sonic worked well enough. Like,
but Sonic is very different than Pac-Man.
yes.
Like, I mean, Sonic at least like talks and like has human characters in it.
Hmm.
Like Pac-Man is literally a giant yellow block of cheese, essentially, eating dots and ghosts. That is the entire premise. That is pretty much it.
Hmm.
I don't know how you're gonna play this off. There are no people. I don't know, but
Yeah, I don't know. But they're making it. Someone thought it was a good idea, and they're making it.
who are the like? It's wild to me that like stuff like this exists, and I'm like, how can I not just walk in there with any script and not get $1 million? Like,
Hmm.
I don't know. That's just who signs off on this stuff, man.
I don't. I don't know. But I mean, this feels like the kind of movie that is announced that just kind of quietly gets unannounced. 3 years from now.
Yep.
Because apparently, like one example I'm thinking of, there was, like that Easter marshmallow thing, Peeps.
That was getting a movie?
Peeps was getting a movie. back in like
wrong with
2014. It just
people?
never came out.
As it shouldn't have. I'm glad it didn't. That's a horrible idea.
Yep. So it could be a
We have a
Peeps
candy
situation.
movie now, like,
Yeah, I mean,
and not even like a well-known, like, I mean, it's well-known, but it's like, if I was gonna say a movie about a candy, the first candy I think of is M&M's,
yes.
because like they at least have the commercials and they're alive, kind of, so you could run with that. But like Peeps,
So
what?
I think this was a reaction to the Lego movie where they're like, why don't we just make a Peeps movie? You know,
But
Peeps
why
are a lot.
Peeps?
I don't know.
That's like the fourth thing I would choose.
Let's choose Kit Kats over Peeps. Like,
I mean, I'm not even talking about eating. I'm talking about movie wise.
Oh, yeah,
Like, eating wise, Peeps is like the absolute last thing I'm picking. I'm picking like Whoppers over Peeps. Like I'm not.
one Peep is good a year. You eat one Peep at Easter, then you're done forever.
I don't think I'm ever gonna eat a Peep in my life again. Like it hurts to eat.
Yeah, it really does. And like they get stale so fast. Like
yes. It's like it's either like 10 birthday cakes packed into this, or you're eating basically a packing peanut. There's no in between. Like it's literally just like too sweet, or you're eating grass. Like it's I don't know, but it's. Ugh.
But yeah, maybe this will be a Peep situation where it just like quietly gets shelved for later, but you know.
No, man, like that's not a good idea. Who was funding this? Ugh. And can they fund me? Because I have better ideas than that.
Okay. I think that's everything I have. Do you have anything else you want to bring up or discuss before we sign off?
I'm kind of just putting this is like the potential way out there. At some point, I do need to talk about Zelda because there's a lot to discuss, like Breath of the Wild.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta talk about it.
Okay.
I know I'm late, but I feel like things need to be said.
Okay. I mean, yeah, we can definitely do that next time, but that's
okay.
I'm excited because
okay.
That's I personally believe it's a very good video game.
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll talk about it.
Okay.
We'll talk about it.
Cool. But yeah, just one last little thing about the whole Warner Brothers Discovery deal. Like, it'll be summer next year before we actually, see anything of this. But just, is it weird for me to be cautiously optimistic about DC stuff going forward? Like, even though they canceled Batgirl, like.
I mean, okay, here's my thing. It's like, I know people are like, oh no, they canceled Batgirl. The DC contest getting canceled. But it's like, I feel like the reason they canceled Batgirl isn't because they thought Batgirl was bad. I think it was just, we're trying to get off the ground, and this movie kind of just doesn't help us do that. Like, it's kind of like if you're trying to rebrand your company, kind of just having a random, like, whatever just doesn't really help. You know what I mean? You're trying to start from scratch, so you want them to do big pieces. You don't want to do, like, you know what I mean? It's like, for example, if you were going to, like, move to a new city, start a new career, like, you know what I mean? You're not going to, like, worry about your pen collection. You know what I mean? You got bigger things to do first before we get there. It's like, not that Batgirl's pointless, but, like, if you're going to rehaul Batman in a couple of years, I think Batgirl can wait.
Yes, I one little thing about Batgirl getting canceled specifically that I didn't mention earlier is that apparently it's been leaked that the test screenings for Batgirl got around the same reactions to the initial cut of Black Adam. Like, but then Black Adam had major reshoots and restructuring, and that's actually coming out. So it's just a little interesting that, like, mostly because The Rock was spearheading that movie, so like.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, that's why. Like, Dwayne Johnson probably said, "You're not canceling my movie."
Yeah.
And they probably said, "Okay," because the Dwayne Johnson can basically buy them. So, you know, because I mean, he's an icon at this point.
it's very sad that like they picked this relative newcomer who's only in like two things before she was cast for Batgirl to be Batgirl, and because of that, the studio felt like it wasn't a big enough deal to release at all.
Yeah, I do think it's kind of messed up that you have something. Because again, I feel like you could still do the Disney, oh, not the Disney Plus, the HBO Max release. Because it's like, especially if it's done, you might as well. There's no reason not to.
Yeah.
Like, you can't lose anything.
Especially since stuff like The Flash is getting worse and worse goodwill every single day. With,
my gosh. Didn't Ezra Miller get, like, another thing against him?
Yeah, and apparently they committed some kind of crime in Vermont about like why what
yeah, isn't it some kind of like felony burglary or something like that? Like something crazy. We're just like, what? So, what are you feeling? How has that movie not just been canceled, put in a box, sent down the river, and set on fire Viking style? Like, I don't even like. It's over, man. Like,
apparently, it is costing them close to $300 million to make this movie. So you
don't even have the Flash character is kind of a criminal. Like, I don't like it's not gonna happen. Just let it go.
I don't know.
Let it go. It's done. I know they've invested a lot, but at the same time, at some point, you have to face facts. I mean, this is ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I find it very. I don't know if hypocritical is the right word, but I find it a little unfair, I guess, is the best thing. Where like, people petition for years for the Snyder Cut to exist. People are petitioning the opposite for the Flash to get canceled because of, it's not going to be a good movie anyway. Let alone, your main star is having PR nightmares. But then this movie that like could have been good, maybe not, but it could have been good. At least it was like a relatively fresh idea in this space. Is 90% done, and they just cancel it. Like,
yeah, I agree. It's hard because I do see both sides. So on the one side is you're already this far in, so like especially it's not having problems getting off the ground as in your Flash movie, but on the other hand, if you are trying to like redo DC, it doesn't help to have a random Batgirl movie right before that. But at the same time, if you're still doing Black Adam, Shazam 2 is still happening, Aquaman 2 is still happening.
There's a Blue Beetle movie.
Clearly, you have time. Yeah, you have time before you're gonna redo anything anyway, so you might as well at this point. But
yeah, like it also sucks because I probably the Flash movie is gonna be something's gonna happen, some major reset is gonna happen that'll essentially contextualize DC stuff going forward, so they need it to exist. But why does it need to exist in the form that it does? When I've already ranted too much about that movie in the past. I just feel like if you're gonna make Flashpoint, just do Flashpoint. Don't do this weird Michael Keaton 2 Flashes Supergirl nonsense. It's like
at this point, it's just like, who knows?
Yeah, but like I said, I am cautiously optimistic about DC stuff, but in the immediate future, not as much. But as far as like grand picture, we'll see. Yeah,
we'll see. But yeah, as far as just like the whole, we're making a new universe. Like, yeah, I'm optimistic because again, they could get it right. Now, again, they could get it wrong again. But again, you can't. In my mind, you can't get it right without starting over. So starting over is potentially a step in the right direction.
Yes. I just hope that the Batman 2 is still safe. I hope.
Yes.
One of the best movies I've ever seen. So, like, just, keep doing that.
And I think that is something they could do. Granted, it might be a little confusing, but I think they could kind of have the Batman kind of in his corner and kind of try to brand new universe.
Oh, yeah.
Granted, they might not be able to start with Batman if they do that, because, again, having two Batman at the same time kind of doesn't really make a lot of sense.
Multiverse.
Yeah, but like as an executive standpoint, there's not gonna. They usually don't go for that because like there's usually not even like Batman TV shows going at the same time.
True.
Let alone movies.
Yeah. The closest we got is like Young Justice going at the same time as that one CG Batman show.
Beware the Batman. Hey,
Yeah,
super underrated, I
I'm
will
sure.
say.
Yeah.
I like it's one of the animation is rough, but the actual like writing's actually pretty solid.
Okay.
Like it, yeah.
I think it's on HBO, so it's there. If
It
you
is
want
on
to.
HBO MAX.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's one of those things that like I would not have watched if I wasn't just starved for Batman content one day, but I'm glad I did.
Yeah. So. So yeah. Anything else you want to bring up or discuss?
That's all I've got.
Okay. So with that, we will see you all next time.
Take care, everyone.